It's 3 a.m. You're staring at the ceiling. Your mind is racing, your heart is a little too loud in the quiet room, and you feel broken for being awake right now. But the real answer is far stranger. You are not broken, you are ancient. For most of human history, waking up in the middle of the night wasn't a disorder. It was Tuesday. Your body remembers something your calendar doesn't. Before electric light, before phones, before the modern 8-hour block of sleep you've been chasing your whole life, humans slept in two parts. Historian Roger Kirch spent over a decade combing through diaries, court records, and medical texts from pre-industrial Europe, and he found the same phrase again and again. First sleep, second sleep. People would go to bed a couple hours after sunset, sleep for 3 or 4 hours, then wake up. Not in a panic, not reaching for a pill, they just woke up. And then what did they do? They didn't lie there dreading the clock. They got up. They stirred the fire. They talked quietly with whoever else was awake in the house. Some people prayed. Some people had sex. Some people visited neighbors, walking through dark streets to sit with a friend for an hour before heading back to bed. Kirch found records of people using this waking window to think, to plan, to process the day. Then, after an hour or two, they'd drift into second sleep and wake again with the sun. Think about that. An entire civilization built its nights around a nap, a pause, and another nap. And nobody called it insomnia. So what changed? Light changed. Specifically, cheap, abundant, artificial light. Gas lamps arrived, then electric bulbs, and suddenly, night stopped being dark. Bedtimes crept later. The natural pause between first and second sleep got squeezed out, because who has time for a quiet hour of candlelit reflection when you were only asleep by midnight and the alarm goes off at 6? The two-part night didn't disappear because it was unhealthy. It disappeared because the world got brighter and busier, and there was no room left for it. Here's where it gets stranger. In the 1990s, psychiatrist Thomas Wehr ran an experiment that sounds almost too simple to matter. He took a group of people and put them in a room with 14 hours of darkness a day, no artificial light allowed, for weeks at a time. No phones, no screens, just darkness, the way a winter night would have looked 20,000 years ago. What happened to their sleep? It split, on its own, without anyone telling them to. The participants fell into that same rhythm Kirch had found buried in old diaries. First sleep, a quiet waking period in the middle of the night, then second sleep. Wehr's subjects described that waking hour as calm, almost meditative. Some compared it to a kind of gentle waking dream state, your brain still soaked in melatonin, thoughts drifting without the usual anxious edge. Your ancestors weren't fighting their biology at 3 a.m. They were living inside it. But why would evolution build a body that wakes up in the middle of the night at all? Wouldn't unbroken sleep be safer, more efficient, more restful? Not if you're sleeping on open ground with predators nearby. This is sometimes called the Watchman hypothesis, and it's less a single-named study than a pattern anthropologists have pieced together from studying sleep in small-scale societies that still live close to the way early humans did. Researchers studying groups like the Hadza in Tanzania have found something remarkable. At almost any given moment throughout the night, someone in the group is awake. Not because they're taking scheduled shifts, nobody assigns watch duty, it just happens because individual sleep cycles are staggered enough that collectively the group is never fully unconscious at the same time. A silent night watch, running on autopilot with no one in charge of it. If your ancestors slept in a single deep block for 8 straight hours and everyone in the group did the same, there would be stretches where absolutely nobody was aware of a rustling bush or an approaching predator. That's a death sentence for a species without claws, without fangs, without much to offer a hungry animal except a body. A staggered, broken sleep pattern, with individuals cycling in and out of light wakefulness throughout the night, meant the group was always partially alert. Always, in some small way, watching. Your 3 a.m. wake-up isn't a glitch. It might be a 5,000-generation-old instinct, quietly checking whether the fire is still burning and the night is still safe. So why does it feel so miserable now? Because you're doing it alone, in silence, with nowhere to go and nothing to do. Your ancestor woke at 3 a.m. into a room with a dying fire, a family member also stirring, maybe a task to attend to. You wake at 3 a.m. into a dark bedroom, a phone you're not supposed to touch, and a job that starts in 5 hours. The wakefulness is the same. The context around it is completely different, and that context is what turns a natural biological pause into something that feels like failure. There's another piece to this. Modern sleep researchers who study the physiology of that middle-of-the-night waking period, including work building on VAERS findings, have noted that the brain in this state often shows elevated prolactin, a hormone linked to calm and rest, similar to what's measured in some meditative states. Your ancestors weren't just passively awake. Biologically, they may have been sitting in something close to a light trance, a window for reflection that the body itself seemed built to produce. Now compare that to what you do at 3 a.m. You reach for your phone. The screen floods your eyes with blue light, the exact wavelength your brain reads as "it's daytime, stay alert." Cortisol creeps up. The calm chemical window your ancestors would have simply sat inside gets hijacked into a stress response. And 20 minutes later, you're scrolling through a stranger's vacation photos, wide awake, wondering what's wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. You just gave your ancient wake-up call a modern trigger it was never designed to survive. None of this means you should get up at 3 a.m. and start a fire in your living room. Your life runs on a different clock now, a clock built around alarms and commutes and school pickups, and unbroken sleep genuinely matters for that life. But the panic, the self-blame, the racing thought that says, "I should be unconscious right now, and I'm not," that part is worth letting go of. Waking briefly in the night isn't proof that your body is malfunctioning. It might be proof that it's working exactly the way it was built to, in a world that no longer needs a night watch. So the next time you open your eyes in the dark and the house is quiet and your mind starts turning, try something different. Don't reach for the phone. Don't check the time. Let the thought settle instead of chasing it. Somewhere behind that moment is a version of you standing guard by a fire that stopped burning 10,000 years ago. And for a few minutes, you get to feel what that felt like. It's 3 a.m., you're lying there in the dark, and for the first time, maybe that's not something to fear at all.